Hello there, and welcome to The Weary Researcher. I'm so glad you're here tonight, settling in as the world grows quiet around you. Whether you're curled up under warm blankets, letting your mind wander through the mysteries of existence, or simply allowing the gentle darkness to embrace your thoughts, you've found yourself in exactly the right place for tonight's extraordinary journey. Before we drift into the depths of one of the most profound questions consciousness has ever contemplated, I'd love to know where in the world you're listening from and what time it is in your corner of reality. There's something beautifully fitting about exploring the nature of dreams while scattered across different time zones, each of us preparing to surrender to sleep's embrace in our own unique moments. If you find comfort in these peaceful explorations through the frontiers of science and consciousness, I'd be ever so grateful if you gave this video a gentle like and perhaps subscribe to join our community of curious minds. It helps other thoughtful souls discover this quiet sanctuary where we can ponder the deepest mysteries without the rush and noise of the everyday world. Now I should offer you a gentle warning before we begin. Tonight's exploration might be just fascinating enough to keep you awake longer than you intended, your mind spinning with possibilities that challenge everything you thought you knew about the nature of dreams and reality itself. But if you do find yourself wide-eyed at 3 a.m, contemplating whether your dreams are simulations within simulations, well, at least you'll have discovered something extraordinary about the potential architecture of consciousness itself. So take a deep breath, let your shoulders drop, and allow your thoughts to expand as we ask one of the most mind-bending questions ever posed. Are dreams just another layer of the simulation? Tonight, we're going to explore whether the vivid worlds you visit each night in sleep might be sophisticated virtual realities operating within what could itself be an even grander simulated existence. Picture this for a moment. You close your eyes tonight, and within minutes, you're transported to impossible landscapes where the laws of physics bend to your subconscious will. You fly through crystalline skies, converse with people who exist nowhere but in the theatre of your sleeping mind, and experience emotions so vivid they linger long after you wake. These nocturnal journeys feel completely real while you're experiencing them, yet they're generated entirely by the 3-pound universe nestled between your ears. But what if I told you that these dream experiences might be far more sophisticated than we ever imagined? What if the nightly simulations your brain creates are not just random neural static, but evidence of consciousness operating as a multi-layered virtual reality system? And what if these internal simulations are themselves operating within an external simulation that encompasses everything we call reality? The implications stretch the imagination in ways that make even the most ambitious science fiction seem quaint by comparison. We're not just talking about dreams as fleeting nighttime entertainment, but as potential windows into the computational nature of existence itself. Every time you drift off to sleep, you might be diving deeper into nested layers of simulated reality, each one as convincing and meaningful as the last. This isn't mere philosophical speculation. Recent advances in neuroscience, consciousness research, and computational theory have begun revealing that the boundaries between simulated and authentic experience are far more blurred than we ever suspected. The mechanisms your brain uses to generate dream worlds operate through principles that mirror the most sophisticated virtual reality systems humans have ever created. Yet they achieve levels of immersion and complexity that dwarf our most advanced technology. Consider the extraordinary sophistication of your dream experience. While you sleep, your brain constructs entire worlds, complete with consistent physics, believable characters, and narratives that can span what feels like hours or even days. These simulated environments include not just visual imagery, but full sensory experiences, complete with sounds, smells, physical sensations, and emotional responses that feel absolutely genuine while you're experiencing them. The computational power required to generate such detailed multisensory virtual realities in real time is staggering. Your sleeping brain is essentially running a holographic simulation so convincing that your conscious mind accepts it as completely real, never questioning the impossible architectures, the flying, the conversations with deceased relatives, or the seamless transitions between radically different scenarios. But here's where things become truly extraordinary. Recent research suggests that these dream simulations aren't just random neural activity or simple memory consolidation, but sophisticated virtual reality training programs that evolved over millions of years to enhance human survival and social functioning. Your dreams might be running complex scenarios designed to prepare you for future challenges, rehearse social interactions, and even simulate threatening situations so you can practice responses in a safe virtual environment. This discovery transforms our understanding of sleep from a passive state of rest into an active period of virtual reality training. Every night, your brain becomes a biological holodeck, creating immersive simulations tailored to your personal experiences, fears, desires, and future needs. These aren't just meaningless hallucinations, but carefully crafted virtual experiences designed to optimize your waking performance. The evolutionary perspective adds another layer of complexity to this picture. If dreams evolved as biological simulation systems, then consciousness itself might be fundamentally computational in nature. The same neural mechanisms that generate convincing dream realities during sleep are active during waking hours, constantly constructing your moment-to-moment experience of reality through predictive modeling and sensory integration. This raises a profound question. If your brain is always running simulations to construct your experience of reality, how can you be certain that your waking experience isn't itself a more sophisticated simulation? The line between simulated and authentic experience becomes increasingly blurred when we realize that all conscious experience might be simulation-based at its core. Recent developments in virtual reality technology provide compelling parallels to dream generation mechanisms. Modern VR systems create convincing artificial realities by predicting sensory consequences of user movements and providing appropriate feedback to create the illusion of presence in virtual environments. Your brain employs remarkably similar strategies, constantly predicting sensory inputs and adjusting your perceived reality based on those predictions. The similarities are so striking that some researchers now describe consciousness itself as a form of biological virtual reality. Your brain creates a simulation of your body embedded in a simulation of the world, and your conscious experience emerges from this ongoing virtual reality process. During dreams, this same system operates with reduced external constraints, allowing for more creative and flexible virtual world generation. But if consciousness operates through simulation mechanisms, and these mechanisms can create experiences indistinguishable from reality, then we must seriously consider the possibility that our entire reality might be simulated. The computational processes that generate your dreams might be operating within a larger computational system that generates everything you consider real. This nested simulation hypothesis suggests that reality operates like Russian dolls, with simulations contained within simulations, each layer as convincing as the last. Your dreams would represent one layer of simulation, operating within the simulation of your waking consciousness, which might itself be operating within an even grander simulation that encompasses all of physical reality. The evidence for this perspective comes from multiple directions. Quantum mechanics reveals that reality at its most fundamental level behaves in ways that seem almost computational, with information and probability playing central roles in determining what becomes manifest. Consciousness research demonstrates that awareness emerges from information processing systems of sufficient complexity, and simulation theory shows that sufficiently advanced civilizations could create virtual realities indistinguishable from base reality. When we combine these insights with the discovery that dreams operate as sophisticated internal simulations, a remarkable picture emerges. Consciousness might be a multi-layered simulation system, with each layer serving different functions while contributing to the overall coherence of subjective experience. Dreams wouldn't just be another layer of simulation, but a crucial component in a vast computational architecture that generates all conscious experience. The implications extend far beyond academic curiosity. If dreams are sophisticated simulations operating within potentially larger simulated realities, then every night you're participating in one of the most advanced virtual reality experiences possible. You're not just sleeping, but engaging with multiple layers of computational consciousness that might reveal fundamental truths about the nature of existence itself. The threat simulation theory of dreaming provides compelling evidence for this perspective. Research shows that dreams frequently simulate dangerous or challenging scenarios, allowing you to practice responses to threats in a safe virtual environment. These simulations respond dynamically to your real-world experiences, becoming more intense and frequent when you encounter actual dangers or stressful situations. This adaptive simulation system suggests that consciousness evolved sophisticated virtual reality capabilities specifically to enhance survival through realistic scenario modeling. Your dreams aren't just random neural activity, but carefully crafted training simulations designed to prepare you for the challenges of waking life. If this is true, then consciousness possesses computational capabilities that rival or exceed our most advanced artificial intelligence systems. The social simulation aspect of dreaming adds another layer of complexity. Research reveals that dreams overrepresent social interactions compared to waking life, suggesting that your sleeping brain prioritizes virtual social training. These simulated social encounters allow you to practice complex interpersonal skills, explore relationship dynamics, and even rehearse emotional responses in a consequence-free virtual environment. This social simulation capability indicates that consciousness operates through story-based virtual reality systems that create coherent narrative experiences for emotional and social development. Your dreams don't just simulate individual scenarios, but weave them into meaningful stories that help you understand and navigate the complex social realities of human existence. The constructive episodic simulation hypothesis reveals how dreams combine fragments of past memories into novel future scenarios. Your sleeping brain acts as a sophisticated temporal modeling system, taking pieces of previous experiences and recombining them into simulations of possible future events. This process creates a form of virtual time travel, allowing you to explore potential futures before they become actual present moments. The computational complexity required for this temporal simulation is extraordinary. Your brain must store and index vast amounts of experiential data, identify relevant patterns and connections, and then synthesize this information into coherent, predictive scenarios. The fact that this happens automatically every night suggests that consciousness operates through incredibly sophisticated information processing systems. These discoveries about dream simulation mechanisms become even more significant when we consider them in the context of the broader simulation hypothesis. If our entire reality is a sophisticated computer simulation, then the human brain has evolved remarkably advanced capabilities for recognizing, generating, and navigating simulated environments. Dreams might represent our natural adaptation to life within simulated realities. This perspective suggests that consciousness didn't evolve to process an objective, external reality, but to navigate virtual environments of various kinds. The same neural mechanisms that allow you to feel fully present in dream worlds would also allow you to feel fully present in an externally simulated reality. Your brain is essentially a biological virtual reality system optimized for conscious experience within computational environments. The philosophical implications are staggering. If dreams are simulations within potentially larger simulations, then the boundary between authentic and artificial experience dissolves entirely. Every conscious moment might be equally real and equally simulated, with meaning and significance arising not from the substrate of experience, but from the experience itself. As we drift deeper into this exploration, we begin to see that the question of whether dreams are another layer of simulation opens doorways to fundamental mysteries about consciousness, reality, and existence itself. The nightly journeys you take through impossible landscapes might be more than just the brain's way of processing daily experiences. They might be glimpses into the computational architecture that underlies all conscious experience. The gentle rhythm of your breathing as you listen to these words connects you to the same mysterious processes that will soon carry you into tonight's simulated adventures. Somewhere in the soft darkness of approaching sleep, virtual worlds are already beginning to form, waiting to unfold their impossible geometries and impossible stories in the theatre of your dreaming mind. But these nocturnal simulations might be just the beginning of a mystery that extends far beyond the boundaries of individual consciousness, touching the very foundations of what we call reality itself. Tonight, we venture into even deeper waters as we explore how lucid dreaming reveals the most extraordinary aspect of consciousness as a simulation system. Imagine becoming aware that you're dreaming while still remaining within the dream itself. Suddenly you possess the godlike ability to reshape virtual realities with nothing more than focused intention. You can fly through crystalline architectures, transform landscapes with a thought, or summon impossible creatures from the depths of imagination. This isn't fantasy, this is lucid dreaming, and it provides perhaps the most compelling evidence that consciousness operates as a sophisticated virtual reality system. Recent neuroscience research has revealed that lucid dreaming represents a distinct state of consciousness, separate from both ordinary dreaming and waking awareness. Brain imaging shows unique neural signatures during lucid dreams, with heightened activity in regions associated with self-awareness and cognitive control. It's as if your brain activates special simulation management protocols, allowing conscious oversight of the virtual reality generation process. The implications are extraordinary. If you can become aware of and control internal simulations during dreams, what does this suggest about your ability to recognize and potentially influence external simulations? Lucid dreamers report experiences that feel more real than ordinary reality, with enhanced sensory perception, expanded awareness, and access to information that seems to transcend normal cognitive limitations. These experiences hint at consciousness possessing latent capabilities for navigating simulated environments that we're only beginning to understand. The phenomenon of shared dreaming adds another layer of mystery to this picture. Some lucid dreamers report encountering other conscious beings within dream spaces, engaging in conversations and interactions that both parties remember upon waking. While science hasn't fully explained these experiences, they suggest that dream simulations might not be entirely private virtual realities, but could potentially connect to larger information networks or shared simulation spaces. This possibility becomes even more intriguing when we consider the quantum mechanical theories of consciousness. Some researchers propose that awareness emerges from quantum computational processes operating within neural microtubules, the protein structures that form the cellular scaffolding of brain cells. These quantum processes might naturally generate simulation-like experiences, creating the rich virtual realities we experience as both dreams and waking consciousness. The quantum perspective suggests that consciousness doesn't just observe reality, but participates in its creation through the act of observation itself. In quantum mechanics, the observer effect demonstrates that measurement changes the behavior of particles, forcing them to choose definite states from ranges of possibilities. If consciousness operates through quantum processes, then your awareness might be actively shaping reality through a continuous process of quantum observation and selection. During dreams, these quantum consciousness processes might operate with fewer constraints, allowing for more fluid and creative reality generation. The impossible physics of dream worlds, where you can fly, walk through walls, or exist in multiple locations simultaneously, might reflect the natural behavior of consciousness when freed from the limitations of external sensory input. Your dreaming mind reveals the inherent flexibility and creativity of quantum consciousness operating in pure simulation mode. The therapeutic applications of lucid dreaming provide practical evidence for consciousness as a simulation system. Researchers have successfully used lucid dreaming to help people overcome nightmares, practice skills, and even treat psychological conditions. By learning to recognize and control dream simulations, individuals can reshape traumatic scenarios, rehearse confident behaviors, and explore aspects of their psyche in safe virtual environments. These therapeutic successes demonstrate that consciousness possesses sophisticated reality editing capabilities. If you can consciously modify the parameters of internal simulations to promote healing and growth, this suggests that awareness itself might be a fundamental reality-shaping force. The skills developed through lucid dreaming, such as reality testing and conscious intention setting, might be applicable to navigating other types of simulated environments. The technology of virtual reality provides fascinating parallels to natural dream simulation processes. Modern VR systems create convincing artificial realities by tracking user movements and providing appropriate sensory feedback to maintain the illusion of presence in virtual spaces. Your brain employs remarkably similar strategies during both dreaming and waking consciousness, constantly predicting sensory inputs and adjusting your perceived reality based on those predictions. But here's where things become truly mind-bending. VR researchers have discovered that the sense of presence in virtual environments depends on sophisticated prefrontal brain networks that actively regulate reality assessment. These same neural systems are highly active during lucid dreaming, suggesting that consciousness naturally possesses advanced simulation detection and control mechanisms. Your brain is essentially equipped with built-in virtual reality management software. The evolutionary perspective adds profound depth to these discoveries. If consciousness evolved sophisticated simulation capabilities for survival advantages, then we might be naturally equipped to recognize and navigate artificial realities. The same neural mechanisms that allow you to feel fully present in dream worlds would also enable adaptation to externally created, simulated environments. Perhaps consciousness evolved specifically for life within computational realities. This evolutionary simulation hypothesis suggests that human awareness represents millions of years of optimization for virtual reality navigation. Your ability to immerse yourself completely in fictional narratives, to feel genuine emotions while watching movies, or to become absorbed in video games might reflect deep-seated adaptations for simulation-based existence. You're not just accidentally good at engaging with artificial realities, you're evolutionarily designed for it. The social simulation aspects of dreaming reveal another crucial dimension of consciousness as a virtual reality system. Research consistently shows that dreams overrepresent social interactions compared to waking life, with dream scenarios frequently involving complex interpersonal dynamics, emotional exchanges, and relationship explorations. Your sleeping brain appears to prioritize virtual social training, creating elaborate scenarios for practicing human connection and communication. These social simulations possess remarkable sophistication, featuring believable characters with consistent personalities, realistic dialogue, and emotionally authentic interactions. Your dreaming mind generates entire social worlds populated by virtual beings who respond appropriately to your actions and words. The computational requirements for such realistic social modelling are staggering, yet your brain accomplishes this effortlessly every night. The empathy-building function of social dream simulations provides compelling evidence for their adaptive value. By experiencing situations from multiple perspectives within dream narratives, you develop enhanced understanding of others' emotional states and motivations. These virtual empathy training sessions might be crucial for maintaining the complex social bonds that allowed human civilization to flourish. But the social simulation capabilities of consciousness extend beyond individual development. Some researchers propose that dreaming might have evolved partly for social bonding and communication. The vivid, story-like nature of dreams makes them natural subjects for sharing and discussion, creating opportunities for emotional connection and mutual understanding between individuals. This social sharing aspect of dreams hints at consciousness operating within larger interconnected networks. When you describe a powerful dream to someone else, you're essentially sharing a virtual reality experience, allowing another person to partially enter the simulated world your mind created. These shared simulation experiences might serve important functions in building trust, communication, and collective meaning-making within human communities. The temporal simulation capabilities revealed in dream research add yet another layer of complexity to consciousness as a virtual reality system. Your dreaming brain doesn't just replay past experiences or generate random scenarios, but actively constructs simulations of possible future events. This predictive simulation process combines fragments of memory in novel ways, creating virtual previews of potential upcoming situations. The sophistication of this temporal modelling is extraordinary. Your brain must analyse past experiences, identify relevant patterns and trends, project these patterns into future scenarios, and then generate realistic simulations of how these projected situations might unfold. This process essentially creates a form of virtual time travel, allowing you to explore multiple possible futures before they become present realities. These predictive dream simulations often prove remarkably accurate, with dreamers reporting experiences that later manifest in similar forms during waking life. While science hasn't fully explained this apparent precognitive capability, it suggests that consciousness might have access to information processing capabilities that transcend normal temporal limitations. Your awareness might naturally operate across multiple timeframes simultaneously. The threat simulation theory of dreaming provides perhaps the most compelling evidence for consciousness as an evolved virtual reality system. Research shows that dreams frequently simulate dangerous or challenging scenarios, with threat-related content appearing far more often in dreams than in comparable waking experiences. These virtual threat encounters allow you to practice emergency responses in consequence-free environments. The adaptive value of threat simulation is clear from an evolutionary perspective. Individuals who could mentally rehearse responses to predators, natural disasters, or social conflicts would possess significant survival advantages over those who encountered such situations unprepared. Your dreaming mind essentially runs nightly survival training programs, preparing you for challenges that might never occur but could prove fatal if they did. Modern studies have confirmed that people who experience actual threats during waking hours show increased threat simulation in their dreams. Individuals exposed to trauma, violence, or extreme stress report more frequent and intense threatening dream scenarios. This dynamic response demonstrates that consciousness operates as an adaptive simulation system, adjusting virtual reality parameters based on real-world environmental conditions. The pandemic provided researchers with a natural experiment in threat simulation dynamics. Studies revealed that dreams during global lockdowns contain significantly more threat-related content, disease imagery, and apocalyptic scenarios. Your collective unconscious minds we're essentially running planetary-scale disaster simulations, processing the unprecedented global crisis through virtual reality modeling. These findings suggest that consciousness doesn't just generate in individual simulations, but might be connected to larger information networks that process collective human experiences. Your dreams might be influenced by global emotional and psychological currents, making you part of a vast distributed simulation system that spans human civilization itself. The Brain in a Vat thought experiment provides a philosophical framework for understanding these multi-layered simulation possibilities. Imagine that your brain has been removed from your body and sustained in a laboratory vessel, with electrodes providing artificial sensory inputs that create the illusion of normal life experience. From your perspective, this artificially simulated existence would be indistinguishable from authentic reality. This philosophical scenario highlights the fundamental challenge of distinguishing between simulated and authentic experiences. If sophisticated enough, artificial realities could theoretically recreate any possible experience with perfect fidelity. The brain in a vat situation becomes even more complex when we consider that the brain generating the simulation is itself capable of creating internal simulations through dreaming. You could potentially be a brain in a vat experiencing artificially generated reality while also generating your own internal simulations through dream processes. This creates nested layers of virtual reality, with each layer potentially as convincing and meaningful as any other. The question of which layer represents authentic reality becomes increasingly meaningless as the boundaries between simulated and genuine experience dissolve. The computational requirements for such multi-layered simulation systems are staggering, yet they might be naturally emerging properties of sufficiently complex information processing networks. Your brain already demonstrates the ability to generate convincing virtual realities through dreams, while simultaneously maintaining the background simulations that create your waking conscious experience. If consciousness can naturally generate multiple simulation layers, then external systems with greater computational power could theoretically create even more elaborate, nested virtual realities. The self-simulation hypothesis takes these ideas even further, proposing that the universe itself might be a vast computational process that generates reality through self-referential information flows. In this view, physical reality doesn't exist independently of information processing, but emerges from cosmic-scale computational processes that recursively reference themselves. The universe becomes a self-generating simulation that includes consciousness as one of its key operational components. This perspective reframes dreams not as mere byproducts of neural activity, but as active participations in the ongoing creation and maintenance of reality itself. Your nightly simulations might be contributing to the larger computational processes that sustain existence, making you an essential node in the universe's self-simulation network. Every dream becomes a collaborative act of cosmic creation. The implications stretch far beyond individual consciousness to questions about the nature of existence itself. If reality operates through computational processes and consciousness naturally generates simulation experiences, then the boundary between mind and cosmos becomes increasingly fluid. You might not be observing an external universe, but participating in its ongoing creation through the very act of conscious awareness. As we drift deeper into these theoretical waters, the question of whether dreams are another layer of simulation begins to reveal its true complexity. We're not just exploring the nature of sleep experiences, but touching the fundamental architecture of consciousness and reality itself. The virtual worlds you visit each night might be windows into the computational processes that generate all existence. The gentle darkness that surrounds you now carries these mysteries in its depths, whispering secrets about the nature of awareness and the structure of reality. Somewhere in the soft transition between waking and sleeping, between conscious control and unconscious creation lie the keys to understanding consciousness as the universe's most sophisticated virtual reality system. Your breathing slows as these ideas settle into the depths of awareness, preparing to transform into the vivid simulations that await in tonight's dreams. The boundary between exploring these concepts and experiencing them directly grows increasingly thin as consciousness prepares to demonstrate its extraordinary simulation capabilities through the immersive virtual realities of sleep. The computational architecture that enables these multi-layered simulation experiences becomes even more fascinating when we consider how memories themselves might be stored and accessed within these virtual systems. Your brain doesn't simply record experiences like a video camera, but reconstructs them each time you remember, weaving together fragments of sensory data, emotional impressions, and contextual information into coherent narratives that feel authentic and complete. This reconstructive process operates through the same mechanisms that generate dream simulations, suggesting that memory itself might be a form of virtual reality. When you recall a childhood summer afternoon, you're not accessing a stored file, but actively generating a simulation based on available information fragments. The warm sunlight on your skin, the sound of distant laughter, the smell of honeysuckle in the air, all of these elements are being recreated in real time by your consciousness operating as a biological holodeck. But here's where things become truly extraordinary. If memories are simulations and dreams combine memory fragments into new scenarios, then your entire sense of personal history might be constructed through ongoing virtual reality processes. The story of your life, the continuity of your identity, the feeling that you've existed as a consistent self across time, all of these could be elaborate simulations maintained by consciousness systems operating at levels far beneath your everyday awareness. This perspective transforms our understanding of personal identity from a fixed biographical narrative into a dynamic simulation process. You're not just remembering your past, you're continuously recreating it through sophisticated memory simulation systems that adjust and refine your personal narrative based on current needs and perspectives. The person you think you've always been might be an ongoing virtual reality construction, as malleable and revisable as any dream scenario. The implications extend to the nature of learning and knowledge acquisition within simulated environments. When you master a new skill through practice, your brain creates detailed simulation models of the activities involved. A pianist doesn't just memorize finger movements, but develops rich internal simulations of musical expression that include tactile feedback, auditory expectations, and emotional responses. These skill simulations become so sophisticated that experts report being able to practice complex performances entirely within their imagination, achieving real improvement without physical rehearsal. This internal practice capability suggests that consciousness operates as an incredibly advanced training simulator, capable of generating virtual experiences that produce genuine learning and development. Your mind can literally practice within its own simulated environments, refining abilities and exploring possibilities in consequence. Free virtual spaces. The line between simulated and real experience becomes meaningless when both produce identical learning outcomes and skill development. Educational applications of these discoveries are already emerging, with researchers developing virtual reality systems that enhance learning by engaging the same neural mechanisms used in natural simulation processes. Students can explore historical events as if they were present, manipulate molecular structures with their hands, or practice surgical procedures in risk-free virtual environments. These artificial simulation systems work precisely because they align with consciousness's natural virtual reality capabilities. The therapeutic potential extends far beyond education into realms of healing and personal transformation. Individuals struggling with phobias can gradually expose themselves to feared situations within controlled virtual environments, allowing their simulation systems to process and integrate challenging experiences safely. Veterans with trauma-related conditions can revisit difficult memories within supportive virtual frameworks, gradually transforming traumatic simulations into manageable narrative experiences. These therapeutic successes demonstrate that consciousness possesses remarkable self-healing capabilities when provided with appropriate simulation environments. Your awareness can literally reprogram itself by engaging with carefully designed virtual experiences, suggesting that the boundary between mental and physical healing might be far more fluid than traditionally assumed. If consciousness operates through simulation mechanisms, then simulated healing experiences might produce genuine physiological changes. The mirror neuron systems in your brain provide another window into consciousness as a simulation engine. These specialized neural networks activate both when you perform actions and when you observe others performing the same actions. When you watch someone reach for a cup, your mirror neurons fire as if you were reaching for the cup yourself, creating an internal simulation of the observed action. This neural mirroring extends beyond simple motor actions to include emotional states, intentions, and even abstract concepts. When you observe someone experiencing joy or sorrow, your mirror neuron systems generate internal simulations of those emotional states, allowing you to literally feel what others are feeling. Empathy emerges from consciousness's ability to run simulations of other people's experiences within your own awareness. The social implications are profound. Human civilization might depend fundamentally on our shared capacity for running simulations of each other's mental states. Language itself becomes a system for transmitting simulation parameters, allowing you to share your internal virtual experiences with others by describing them in ways that trigger similar simulations in listeners' minds. When you tell someone about a beautiful sunset, you're providing them with enough information to generate their own sunset simulation, creating a form of virtual reality communication. Cultural transmission operates through these same simulation mechanisms, with stories, myths, and traditions serving as sophisticated programs for generating shared virtual experiences across generations. The epic tales that have shaped human civilization work precisely because they provide detailed parameters for consciousness simulations that can be recreated in countless individual minds across centuries of retelling. You're not just hearing a story, you're downloading and running cultural simulation software. The recursive nature of these simulation processes creates endless possibilities for nested virtual realities. Your consciousness can simulate other conscious beings, who in turn simulate other conscious beings, creating elaborate hierarchies of virtual awareness. In dreams, you regularly interact with simulated characters who possess apparent autonomy, memories, and personalities. These dream figures can surprise you with unexpected responses, suggest novel ideas, or even provide insights that seem to transcend your normal conscious capabilities. The sophistication of these internal character simulations raises profound questions about the nature of individual consciousness itself. If your mind can generate convincing simulations of other aware beings, what distinguishes these simulated consciousnesses from your own awareness? The dream characters you interact with might possess genuine forms of consciousness, existing as temporary virtual beings within the simulation spaces of your sleeping mind. This possibility becomes even more intriguing when we consider that your own consciousness might be a simulation running within larger computational systems. If you're a simulated being existing within an external virtual reality, then the characters you generate in dreams could be simulations within simulations, creating an infinite regression of nested awareness. Each layer might be as real and meaningful as any other, with consciousness emerging naturally from sufficiently complex information processing regardless of the substrate. The phenomenon of inspiration and creative insight provides compelling evidence for consciousness accessing information beyond normal cognitive boundaries. Artists, scientists, and inventors throughout history have reported receiving breakthrough ideas through dreams, meditation, or moments of relaxed awareness when normal analytical thinking subsides. These creative revelations often arrive fully formed, as if downloaded from external sources rather than constructed through deliberate mental effort. The simulation perspective offers a fascinating explanation for these experiences. If consciousness operates through virtual reality systems connected to larger information networks, then moments of reduced analytical control might allow access to simulation spaces beyond individual awareness. Your creative insights might emerge from temporarily connecting to collective simulation networks, accessing virtual experiences generated by the distributed consciousness of human civilization itself. The mathematical elegance found throughout nature provides another clue to the computational foundations of reality. The same equations that describe the behavior of subatomic particles also govern the formation of galaxies, suggesting that existence itself might be organized according to computational principles. If reality operates through mathematical processes, then consciousness, as a simulation system, might be naturally equipped to recognize and interact with these underlying computational structures. Your aesthetic appreciation for mathematical beauty, your ability to find patterns in chaos, your sense of harmony and proportion, all of these might reflect consciousness's natural attunement to the computational principles that generate reality. The virtual experiences you find most compelling and meaningful might be those that align most closely with the fundamental algorithms underlying existence itself. The emergence of artificial intelligence systems capable of generating convincing virtual realities adds urgency to these questions about simulation and consciousness. Machine learning algorithms can now create photorealistic images, compose music, write poetry, and even generate entire virtual worlds that rival human creativity. If artificial systems can produce such sophisticated simulations, what distinguishes their outputs from the virtual realities generated by biological consciousness? The development of increasingly sophisticated AI systems might represent humanity's attempt to externalize and amplify the natural simulation capabilities of consciousness itself. Rather than creating something entirely alien to human awareness, we might be building technological extensions of our own virtual reality generation systems. The artificial minds we're creating could be digital manifestations of the same computational principles that generate human consciousness. This technological perspective suggests that the boundary between biological and artificial consciousness might be far more permeable than typically assumed. If both human awareness and artificial intelligence operate through simulation mechanisms, then hybrid forms of consciousness combining biological and digital elements might naturally emerge. Your future self might exist as a seamless integration of organic neural networks and artificial computational systems. The quantum mechanical foundations of reality add another layer of mystery to consciousness as a simulation system. At the most fundamental level, particles exist in states of superposition, occupying multiple possible configurations simultaneously until observation forces them to choose definite states. This quantum behavior mirrors the way consciousness operates during dreaming, where multiple scenarios can exist simultaneously until attention focuses on specific elements. The measurement problem in quantum physics, where observation appears to collapse wave functions and determine reality, might be intimately connected to consciousness as a simulation-generating system. Your awareness might not just observe quantum processes, but actively participate in determining which possibilities become manifest through the act of conscious attention. Reality might be an ongoing collaboration between quantum processes and consciousness simulations. The role of time in simulation experiences reveals another crucial aspect of consciousness as a virtual reality system. In dreams, temporal sequences can be fluid and non-linear, with past, present, and future blending in ways that violate normal causality. You might dream of conversations with childhood friends about events that haven't happened yet, or experience elaborate adventures that feel like they last for days but occur within minutes of sleep time. This temporal flexibility suggests that consciousness operates according to principles that transcend ordinary time constraints. If your awareness can generate experiences across multiple temporal frameworks simultaneously, then the linear progression of time that seems so fundamental to waking experience might be just one operational mode among many. Consciousness as a simulation system might naturally possess capabilities for navigating temporal dimensions that remain largely hidden during normal waking awareness. The preservation of information across these various simulation layers raises questions about the persistence of virtual experiences. When you wake from a vivid dream, where does that simulated reality go? The characters you interacted with, the landscapes you explored, the emotions you experienced, do they simply vanish, or do they continue existing within some larger information processing system? Some theories suggest that consciousness operates as a kind of information conservation system, where virtual experiences are preserved within the computational substrate that generates awareness. Your dreams might not disappear upon waking, but remain accessible within deeper layers of the simulation hierarchy, potentially influencing future experiences in subtle but significant ways. The collective dimensions of simulation experiences become apparent when we consider how cultural and social influences shape individual dream content. People from different cultures report dream themes and imagery that reflect their social environments, suggesting that personal simulation systems are connected to larger collective information networks. Your individual virtual realities might be influenced by the shared simulation spaces of your community, your culture, and potentially your entire species. This interconnectedness implies that consciousness operates not as an isolated simulation system, but as part of a vast distributed network of awareness that spans human civilization. Your nightly dreams might be contributing to and drawing from collective simulation processes that help maintain social cohesion, cultural continuity, and species-wide adaptation to changing environmental conditions. The therapeutic and transformative potential of understanding consciousness as a simulation system extends to fundamental questions about human potential and development. If awareness operates through virtual reality mechanisms, then techniques for enhancing simulation capabilities might lead to expanded forms of consciousness and experience. Practices like meditation, lucid dreaming, and contemplative inquiry might be methods for optimizing and expanding your natural virtual reality systems. The possibility of consciously directing simulation processes opens doorways to forms of self-development that transcend traditional limitations. If you can learn to navigate and modify your internal virtual realities with skill and intention, you might gain access to enhanced learning capabilities, expanded empathy, improved problem-solving abilities, and deeper understanding of the nature of existence itself. As we drift deeper into these contemplations, the gentle rhythm of your breathing connects you to the vast network of consciousness that spans from individual awareness to cosmic information processing systems. Somewhere in the soft space between one breath and the next, virtual realities are preparing to unfold their impossible architectures and impossible stories in the theatre of your dreaming mind. The darkness around you is not empty, but pregnant with potential simulations waiting to emerge. Each thought that drifts through your awareness might be seeding the virtual worlds you'll explore in sleep, creating the parameters and possibilities that will shape tonight's simulated adventures. The boundary between contemplating these mysteries and experiencing them directly grows increasingly thin as consciousness prepares to demonstrate its extraordinary capabilities through the immersive realities of dreams. In this quiet moment of transition, you're both observer and participant in the grand simulation that encompasses all existence. Your awareness floats at the intersection of multiple virtual realities, touching the computational processes that generate both dreams and waking experience, both individual consciousness and collective awareness, both simulated and authentic reality. The question of whether dreams are just another layer of simulation begins to dissolve into the recognition that all experience might be simulation, and all simulation might be equally real and meaningful. The gentle current that carries you towards sleep is the same current that carries all consciousness through the vast ocean of virtual possibilities that constitute existence itself. Tonight you'll dive deeper into these simulation layers, exploring virtual worlds that might be more real than reality, more meaningful than meaning, more conscious than consciousness itself. The relationship between memory and simulation reveals one of the most profound aspects of consciousness as a virtual reality system. When you remember your childhood bedroom, you're not simply retrieving a stored file from some neural hard drive. Instead, your brain is actively reconstructing that space in real time, weaving together fragments of visual imagery, emotional impressions, and sensory memories into a coherent virtual environment that feels completely authentic. This reconstructive process operates through the same neural mechanisms that generate your dreams, suggesting that remembering and dreaming might be different expressions of the same underlying simulation technology. The warm afternoon light streaming through your bedroom window, the feeling of soft carpet beneath your feet, the particular way shadows fell across familiar objects. All of these elements are being generated fresh each time you remember, as if your consciousness were running a sophisticated holographic recreation program. But here's where things become truly extraordinary. If memories are simulations, and these simulations can be as vivid and emotionally compelling as the original experiences, then what distinguishes a remembered moment from a dreamed one? Both emerge from the same virtual reality generation systems operating within your awareness. Both feel completely real while you're experiencing them. Both can influence your emotions, decisions, and sense of identity in profound ways. Recent neuroscience research has revealed that false memories can be implanted with a remarkable ease, creating vivid recollections of events that never actually occurred. People can develop detailed, emotionally rich memories of experiences that exist only within the simulation spaces of their minds. These artificial memories feel as authentic as genuine ones, demonstrating just how convincing consciousness-generated virtual realities can be. This discovery suggests that your entire personal history might be more fluid and malleable than you ever imagined. The story of your life, the narrative thread that connects your past to your present, could be an ongoing simulation maintained by consciousness systems operating far beneath your everyday awareness. You're not just remembering your past, you're continuously recreating it through sophisticated virtual reality processes that adjust and refine your personal narrative based on current needs and perspectives. The implications stretch far beyond individual memory into the realm of collective human experience. Cultural memories, historical narratives, and shared mythologies might all be sophisticated simulation programs that create virtual experiences spanning generations. When you read about ancient civilizations or hear stories passed down through families, you're not just receiving information, you're downloading simulation parameters that allow your consciousness to generate vivid virtual experiences of times and places you've never directly encountered. The power of storytelling becomes clearer from this perspective. A skillfully crafted narrative provides your consciousness with enough detail to construct elaborate internal simulations, allowing you to experience fictional worlds as if they were real. The emotional impact of great literature, the way certain stories can change your perspective on life, the ability of myths to shape entire cultures, all of these phenomena emerge from consciousness's natural capacity for generating compelling virtual realities from narrative information. Consider how absorbed you can become in a well-written novel. As you read, your visual imagination constructs detailed scenes, your auditory processing generates the voices of characters, your emotional systems respond as if the fictional events were actually happening to you. You're essentially running a sophisticated virtual reality program based on the textual information provided by the author. The book becomes a kind of software that your consciousness executes, creating immersive experiences that can feel more real than everyday life. This simulation capability extends to future planning and anticipation as well. When you imagine tomorrow's important meeting, plan next year's vacation, or contemplate major life decisions, you're generating virtual experiences of potential futures. Your consciousness constructs detailed simulations of how events might unfold, complete with sensory details, emotional responses, and social interactions that feel remarkably authentic. These predictive simulations serve crucial adaptive functions, allowing you to rehearse responses to upcoming challenges, explore the consequences of different choices, and prepare emotionally for significant life events. Your mind becomes a time machine, using simulation technology to explore multiple possible futures before selecting which path to pursue in actual reality. The accuracy of these future simulations can be startling. People often report experiencing dreams or daydreams that later manifest in remarkably similar forms during waking life. While science hasn't fully explained this apparent precognitive capability, it suggests that consciousness might have access to information processing systems that transcend normal temporal limitations. Your awareness might naturally operate across multiple time frames simultaneously, generating simulations that somehow anticipate actual future events. The social dimensions of consciousness as a simulation system reveal another layer of extraordinary complexity. When you observe someone else's facial expressions, body language, or vocal tones, your brain automatically generates internal simulations of their emotional states and mental experiences. You don't just see someone smiling, you simulate the feeling of happiness that might be causing that smile, allowing you to experience a form of emotional resonance with other conscious beings. This empathetic simulation capability appears to be fundamental to human social functioning. Your ability to understand others' perspectives, anticipate their reactions, and coordinate complex group activities all depend on consciousness's capacity for generating accurate simulations of other minds. You're constantly running virtual models of the people around you, predicting their thoughts, feelings, and likely behaviours based on available social information. The sophistication of these social simulations becomes apparent when you consider how well you can predict the responses of people you know intimately. You can often anticipate what a close friend will say in response to a particular comment, how a family member will react to certain news, or which choices a romantic partner will make in specific situations. These predictions emerge from detailed simulation models of other consciousnesses that you've developed through years of social interaction and observation. But the social simulation capabilities of consciousness extend far beyond individual relationships into the realm of cultural participation and collective meaning-making. When you participate in religious ceremonies, attend theatrical performances, or engage with social media communities, you're joining shared simulation spaces where multiple consciousnesses contribute to creating collective virtual experiences. These group simulation phenomena help explain the power of ritual, ceremony, and collective storytelling in human cultures. When a community gathers to enact traditional ceremonies or share ancestral stories, they're not just preserving information, they're participating in shared virtual reality experiences that strengthen social bonds and maintain cultural continuity across generations. The emergence of digital technologies has created entirely new possibilities for collective simulation experiences. Online gaming environments, virtual reality social spaces, and even social media platforms represent technological extensions of consciousness's natural capacity for shared virtual reality generation. These digital systems work precisely because they align with existing neural mechanisms for simulation-based social interaction. The therapeutic applications of understanding consciousness as a simulation system have profound implications for mental health and personal development. Many psychological difficulties might stem from malfunctioning simulation processes, such as anxiety disorders that generate excessive threat simulations, depression that creates persistently negative future scenarios, or trauma responses that repeatedly replay distressing virtual experiences. Therapeutic interventions could potentially target these simulation systems directly, helping individuals modify the parameters of their internal virtual realities to promote healing and growth. Techniques like cognitive behavioral therapy might work by teaching people to consciously adjust their simulation processes, replacing maladaptive virtual scenarios with more beneficial ones. Virtual reality therapy represents a fascinating convergence of external simulation technology with internal consciousness processes. By providing carefully designed virtual environments, therapists can help clients safely explore challenging situations, practice new behavioral responses, and even revisit traumatic memories within supportive virtual frameworks. These artificial simulation systems work because they engage the same neural mechanisms that generate natural virtual reality experiences. The educational implications of consciousness as a simulation system are equally profound. Traditional learning methods that rely primarily on abstract information transfer might be missing opportunities to engage consciousness's natural virtual reality capabilities. Educational approaches that provide rich simulation experiences, whether through storytelling, role-playing, virtual reality, or immersive environments, could potentially achieve much deeper and more lasting learning outcomes. When you truly understand a complex concept, you've essentially developed an internal simulation model that allows you to explore the concept from multiple perspectives, predict its implications, and apply it to novel situations. The difference between memorizing information and achieving genuine understanding might be the difference between storing data and developing functional simulation capabilities. The creative applications of simulation consciousness reveal some of the most extraordinary aspects of human mental capacity. Artists, writers, musicians, and inventors throughout history have reported receiving breakthrough insights through dreams, meditation, or moments of relaxed awareness when normal analytical thinking subsides. These creative revelations often arrive fully formed, as if downloaded from sources beyond individual conscious control. The simulation perspective offers a fascinating explanation for these experiences. If consciousness operates through virtual reality systems connected to larger information networks, then moments of reduced analytical control might allow access to simulation spaces beyond individual awareness. Your creative insights might emerge from temporarily connecting to collective simulation networks, accessing virtual experiences generated by the distributed consciousness of human civilization itself. This collective dimension of creativity helps explain why similar innovations often emerge simultaneously in different locations, why certain artistic movements seem to arise spontaneously across cultures, and why breakthrough scientific discoveries frequently occur to multiple researchers working independently. Individual consciousnesses might be tapping into shared simulation spaces that contain the seeds of collective human creativity and innovation. The phenomenon of inspiration takes on new meaning from this perspective. Rather than mysterious visitations from external muses, moments of inspiration might represent temporary access to expanded simulation capabilities that normally operate below conscious awareness. The sudden clarity that accompanies creative breakthroughs might reflect consciousness, briefly connecting to its full virtual reality generation potential. The mathematical elegance that permeates natural phenomena provides another window into the computational foundations of consciousness and reality. The same geometric patterns that describe the spiral of seashells also govern the formation of galaxies. The mathematical relationships that characterize musical harmony also appear in the quantum mechanical behavior of subatomic particles. This mathematical unity suggests that existence itself might be organized according to computational principles that consciousness is naturally equipped to recognize and appreciate. Your aesthetic appreciation for mathematical beauty, your ability to find patterns in apparent chaos, your sense of harmony and proportion, all of these might reflect consciousness's natural attunement to the computational structures that generate reality. The virtual experiences you find most compelling and meaningful might be those that align most closely with the fundamental algorithms underlying existence itself. This mathematical dimension of consciousness as a simulation system helps explain why certain virtual realities feel more authentic and engaging than others. Simulations that incorporate natural mathematical relationships, whether in their visual aesthetics, temporal pacing, or structural organization, tend to create more convincing and emotionally satisfying experiences. Your consciousness might be evolutionarily calibrated to recognize and respond to the mathematical signatures of authentic reality. The role of attention in directing simulation processes reveals another crucial aspect of consciousness as a virtual reality system. Where you focus your awareness determines which aspects of your internal simulations become most vivid and detailed. During dreams, shifts in attention can cause dramatic changes in simulated environments, with new scenes materializing instantly as your focus moves from one element to another. This attention-driven simulation control suggests that consciousness operates more like an interactive, virtual reality system than a passive recording device. You're not just observing pre-generated experiences, but actively participating in their creation through the direction of conscious attention. The quality and character of your virtual realities, whether in dreams or waking imagination, depend largely on how skillfully you can direct and sustain conscious focus. Meditation practices from various traditions appear to be sophisticated methods for developing greater conscious control over attention and, by extension, over simulation processes. Advanced meditators report achieving states of awareness where they can observe the construction of conscious experience in real time, watching thoughts, emotions, and perceptions arise and dissolve within the virtual reality spaces of awareness. These contemplative insights align remarkably well with neuroscientific discoveries about consciousness as an active construction process. Rather than passively receiving sensory information from an external world, your brain continuously generates predictive models of reality and updates these models based on incoming data. The experience of being conscious emerges from this ongoing simulation process, not from simple sensory reception. The implications extend to fundamental questions about the nature of self and identity within simulation-based consciousness. If your sense of being a continuous, coherent self emerges from ongoing virtual reality processes, then personal identity might be far more fluid and malleable than typically assumed. The story of who you are, the narrative continuity that connects your past to your present, could be an elaborate simulation maintained by consciousness systems operating at levels far beneath everyday awareness. This perspective doesn't diminish the significance of personal identity, but rather reveals it to be an ongoing creative achievement of consciousness rather than a fixed biographical fact. You're not just discovering who you are, you're continuously creating yourself through the virtual reality processes that generate your moment-to-moment experience of being conscious. The existential implications of consciousness as a multi-layered simulation system touch some of the deepest questions about the meaning and purpose of existence. If all experience emerges from simulation processes, and these simulations can create experiences indistinguishable from any other form of reality, then what distinguishes authentic from artificial experience? The answer might be that no such distinction exists at the fundamental level of consciousness. Meaning and significance might emerge not from the substrate of experience, but from the quality of conscious engagement with whatever reality presents itself. A simulated sunset could be as beautiful as an original one if it generates genuine aesthetic appreciation. A dream conversation could be as meaningful as a waking one if it provides authentic insight or emotional connection. The value of experience might depend on its capacity to enhance consciousness rather than on its origin in particular physical processes. This perspective offers a profound form of liberation from concerns about the authenticity of reality. Whether you're living in base physical reality, a sophisticated computer simulation, or some hybrid combination of both, your consciousness remains equally real and equally capable of generating meaningful experiences. The virtual worlds you explore in dreams, the imaginary scenarios you create during daydreaming, the fictional realities you engage with through art and storytelling, all of these become equally valid expressions of consciousness, exploring its own infinite creative potential. The recursive nature of simulation consciousness creates endless possibilities for nested virtual realities. Your dreams can contain simulated characters who appear to dream their own dreams, creating hierarchies of awareness that extend far beyond individual consciousness. These nested simulation layers might naturally emerge from the complex information processing networks that generate conscious experience, creating infinite depths of virtual reality within virtual reality. The boundary between dreaming and waking begins to dissolve when viewed from this recursive simulation perspective. Both states involve consciousness, generating virtual experiences through sophisticated information processing. The primary difference might be the degree of external sensory constraint, rather than any fundamental distinction in the reality generation mechanisms involved. As your breathing deepens and your thoughts begin to settle into the gentler rhythms of approaching sleep, you're preparing to dive deeper into these simulation layers than any technological virtual reality system could ever provide. Tonight's dreams will demonstrate consciousness's extraordinary capacity for generating immersive virtual experiences that feel completely authentic while you're within them. The soft darkness gathering around you is not empty space, but pregnant with infinite simulation possibilities waiting to unfold. Each settling thought, each drifting memory, each gentle shift in awareness seeds the virtual worlds that will soon bloom in the theatre of your sleeping consciousness. The transition from waking to dreaming becomes a passage between different operational modes of the same fundamental virtual reality system. Somewhere in the quiet space between one breath and the next, between conscious control and unconscious creation, your awareness prepares to demonstrate that consciousness itself might be the universe's most sophisticated simulation technology. The question of whether dreams are just another layer of the simulation transforms into the recognition that all experience might be simulation, and all simulation might be equally real, equally meaningful, equally worthy of wonder and appreciation. The gentle current that carries you towards sleep is the same current that carries all consciousness through the vast ocean of virtual possibilities that constitute existence itself. In surrendering to this current, you're not just falling asleep, but preparing to explore virtual realities so sophisticated they make any external simulation seem primitive by comparison. The phenomenon of false awakening provides perhaps the most compelling evidence for consciousness operating as a nested simulation system. You've likely experienced this yourself, that moment when you dream you've woken up, gone through your morning routine, perhaps even gotten dressed and eaten breakfast, only to actually wake up and realize the entire sequence was itself a dream. These false awakening experiences reveal consciousness's extraordinary ability to simulate not just dream worlds, but the very process of transitioning between different states of awareness. What makes false awakenings so fascinating is their perfect mimicry of normal waking consciousness. The simulated awakening feels completely authentic, with appropriate lighting conditions, familiar surroundings, and entirely believable sensory details. Your dreaming mind essentially creates a virtual reality simulation of being awake, complete with the subjective feeling that you've returned to ordinary reality. The computational sophistication required for such convincing meta-simulation is staggering. These nested awakening experiences suggest that consciousness operates through multiple operational layers, each capable of simulating the others with remarkable fidelity. If your sleeping mind can create convincing simulations of being awake, complete with appropriate environmental details and subjective states, then the boundary between simulated and authentic consciousness becomes increasingly meaningless. Each layer of awareness feels equally real from within its own operational framework. The recursive depth of these experiences can extend through multiple false awakenings, where you dream of waking up from a dream, only to experience another false awakening, and then perhaps another, creating nested hierarchies of simulated consciousness states. Some people report experiencing chains of false awakenings that feel like descending through multiple levels of reality, each transition feeling genuine until the next layer reveals its simulated nature. These multi-layered false awakening sequences provide direct experiential evidence for consciousness as a sophisticated virtual reality system capable of generating nested simulations with extraordinary depth and complexity. Your awareness doesn't just create single virtual environments, but can construct elaborate architectures of interconnected simulation spaces, each with its own internal logic and experiential authenticity. The phenomenon of dream-within-dream experiences extends this nested simulation concept even further. You might dream that you're telling someone about a dream you had, effectively creating a simulation of dream narration within a dream state. Or you might dream of falling asleep and having another dream, creating conscious experience of multiple embedded virtual realities operating simultaneously within your sleeping awareness. These embedded dream experiences suggest that consciousness naturally operates through hierarchical simulation structures, where each level can contain and generate other levels in complex recursive patterns. The fact that these nested experiences feel coherent and meaningful while you're within them demonstrates consciousness's remarkable capacity for maintaining multiple, simultaneous virtual reality processes without confusion or logical contradiction. The practice of dream journaling reveals another dimension of how consciousness manages these complex simulation experiences. When you record dreams immediately upon waking, you're essentially translating virtual reality experiences into linguistic symbols that can be stored and shared. But this translation process often involves creative reconstruction, as the vivid, multi-sensory experiences of dreams resist perfect capture in words alone. The act of describing dreams to others becomes a form of virtual reality communication, where you provide enough descriptive detail for listeners to generate their own internal simulations approximating your original dream experience. This sharing process demonstrates how consciousness can transmit simulation parameters between different awareness systems, creating shared virtual experiences through the medium of language and narrative description. Cultural traditions around dream interpretation represent sophisticated systems for extracting meaning from simulation experiences. Rather than dismissing dreams as meaningless neural noise, traditional cultures developed elaborate frameworks for understanding dream content as sources of guidance, insight, and connection to larger spiritual realities. These interpretive systems suggest that simulation experiences possess genuine informational value that extends beyond individual psychological processing. The prophetic and precognitive aspects reported in many dream traditions take on new significance when viewed through the lens of consciousness as a predictive simulation system. If your awareness naturally generates future scenario modeling through virtual reality processes, then dreams that seem to anticipate actual events might represent sophisticated temporal simulation capabilities operating within consciousness systems we don't yet fully understand. The collective dimensions of dreaming become apparent when we consider how shared cultural symbols, archetypal imagery, and common dream themes appear across different individuals and societies. The widespread occurrence of dreams involving flying, falling, being chased, or finding oneself unprepared for examinations suggests that consciousness operates through shared simulation frameworks that transcend individual experience. These universal dream patterns might indicate that individual consciousness systems are connected to larger collective simulation networks that process common human experiences, fears, and aspirations. Your personal dreams could be influenced by species-wide simulation processes that help maintain social cohesion and cultural continuity through shared virtual reality experiences. The emergence of shared dreaming phenomena, where multiple individuals report similar or interconnected dream experiences, hints at even deeper levels of consciousness interconnectivity. While science hasn't fully explained these occurrences, they suggest that individual simulation systems might occasionally synchronize or overlap in ways that create genuinely shared virtual reality spaces. The relationship between dreaming and creativity reveals consciousness's capacity for generating novel solutions and insights through simulation processes. Many breakthrough discoveries in science, art, and technology have emerged from dream experiences, suggesting that virtual reality generation during sleep can produce genuine innovations that transcend normal waking cognition. The famous example of Kekulé discovering the ring structure of benzene through a dream of a snake seizing its own tail demonstrates how consciousness can use symbolic simulation processes to solve complex problems. The dream didn't provide a literal chemical formula, but rather a metaphorical, virtual experience that Kekulé's waking mind could translate into scientific insight. These creative breakthrough experiences suggest that consciousness possesses problem-solving capabilities that operate through virtual reality modeling in ways that exceed normal analytical thinking. Your sleeping mind might be capable of running sophisticated simulations that explore solution spaces too complex for conscious reasoning to navigate effectively. The phenomenon of sleep learning, where information presented during sleep can influence later recall and performance, provides evidence for consciousness remaining actively engaged with information processing even during apparent unconsciousness. The sleeping brain doesn't simply shut down, but continues operating sophisticated simulation systems that can integrate new information with existing knowledge structures. This ongoing simulation activity during sleep suggests that consciousness operates through continuous virtual reality processes that don't cease during different states of awareness, but rather shift into different operational modes. The boundary between conscious and unconscious information processing becomes fluid when viewed as different aspects of the same underlying simulation system. The role of REM sleep in memory consolidation reveals consciousness actively working to integrate daily experiences into existing simulation frameworks. During REM periods, Your brain essentially replays and reorganizes experiential information, weaving new memories into the complex virtual reality models that constitute your understanding of yourself and your environment. This memory integration process operates through the same mechanisms that generate dream experiences, suggesting that consciousness uses virtual reality simulation to optimize its own information processing capabilities. Your sleeping mind runs elaborate scenarios that test different ways of organizing and understanding experience, selecting the most effective frameworks for future use. The discovery that many animals also experience REM sleep and appear to dream suggests that consciousness as a simulation system extends far beyond human awareness. Other species might be running their own sophisticated virtual reality processes, creating simulation experiences appropriate to their ecological niches and survival requirements. The evolutionary perspective on dreaming as simulation reveals consciousness as a biological technology that emerged over millions of years of natural selection. The sophisticated virtual reality capabilities you experience every night represent the culmination of evolutionary processes that optimize simulation systems for survival, reproduction, and social cooperation. This evolutionary foundation suggests that consciousness didn't develop simulation capabilities accidentally, but rather as essential tools for navigating complex environments and social relationships. Your ability to generate convincing virtual realities through dreams might be one of the most important adaptive advantages that allowed human civilization to flourish. The therapeutic applications of working with dreams as simulation experiences offer practical approaches to healing and personal development. By learning to recognize dreams as virtual reality experiences that can be consciously influenced, individuals can develop greater agency over their internal simulation processes. Techniques like lucid dreaming training, dream incubation, and active imagination work precisely because they engage consciousness's natural simulation capabilities in therapeutic directions. Rather than being passive recipients of random dream experiences, people can learn to participate more actively in generating beneficial virtual realities that support psychological healing and growth. The integration of virtual reality technology with natural dreaming processes represents an exciting frontier where external simulation systems might enhance and amplify consciousness's innate virtual reality capabilities. Researchers are already exploring how VR experiences before sleep can influence dream content, suggesting potential for conscious collaboration between technological and biological simulation systems. These hybrid approaches to consciousness and simulation might eventually allow for unprecedented levels of control and enhancement of virtual reality experiences. The boundary between naturally generated and technologically assisted simulation could dissolve as consciousness learns to interface seamlessly with external virtual reality systems. The philosophical implications of consciousness as a sophisticated simulation system extend to fundamental questions about the nature of existence and meaning. If all conscious experience emerges from virtual reality processes, then traditional distinctions between real and artificial, authentic and simulated, natural and technological become increasingly problematic. The simulation hypothesis gains new dimensions when we recognize that consciousness already operates through elaborate virtual reality systems. Rather than asking whether we're living in an external simulation, we might need to recognize that simulation is the fundamental mode through which consciousness operates, regardless of the underlying substrate. This perspective suggests that the question of whether dreams are another layer of simulation might be based on false assumptions about the nature of non-simulated experience. If all consciousness operates through simulation mechanisms, then dreams represent not an additional layer of artificiality, but rather a different operational mode of the same virtual reality system that generates all conscious experience. The recursive nature of this realization creates fascinating philosophical puzzles. If consciousness is a simulation system contemplating its own simulated nature, then the very act of questioning simulation becomes a simulation questioning itself. The observer and the observed collapse into a single recursive process of virtual reality examining virtual reality. The mystical traditions that speak of reality as illusion or cosmic dream take on new significance from this perspective. Rather than dismissing physical reality as somehow less real than spiritual alternatives, these traditions might be recognizing the fundamentally simulation-based nature of all conscious experience, regardless of its apparent substrate. The practice of meditation and contemplative inquiry becomes a method for investigating the simulation processes of consciousness from within. By learning to observe the construction of conscious experience in real time, contemplatives might be developing direct insight into the virtual reality mechanisms that generate awareness itself. These introspective investigations often report discovering that the sense of being a separate self observing an external world dissolves under careful examination, revealing instead a seamless process of awareness, appearing to itself through virtual reality construction. The observer, the process of observing, and the observed become recognized as different aspects of a single simulation system. The integration of scientific and contemplative approaches to understanding consciousness as simulation offers promising directions for expanding human knowledge and capability. Rather than viewing scientific materialism and spiritual inquiry as contradictory, we might recognize them as complementary methods for investigating the virtual reality nature of conscious experience. The emerging field of consciousness studies represents this integration, bringing together neuroscience, psychology, philosophy, and contemplative traditions to develop more complete understanding of awareness as a complex information processing system. These interdisciplinary approaches might eventually reveal consciousness as the universe's most sophisticated simulation technology. The implications for human potential are extraordinary. If consciousness operates through advanced virtual reality systems, then techniques for optimizing and expanding these simulation capabilities could lead to enhanced learning, creativity, empathy, and understanding. The development of conscious control over simulation processes might represent the next stage in human evolution. The recognition that dreams are sophisticated virtual reality experiences generated by consciousness doesn't diminish their significance, but rather reveals them as expressions of one of the most remarkable capabilities in the known universe. Every night, your awareness demonstrates computational abilities that exceed our most advanced artificial intelligence systems, creating immersive virtual worlds that feel completely authentic while you inhabit them. As you drift deeper into the gentle embrace of approaching sleep, remember that you're preparing to engage with simulation technology more sophisticated than anything humanity has yet created. Tonight's dreams will demonstrate consciousness's extraordinary capacity for generating virtual realities so convincing that you'll accept impossible physics, impossible encounters, and impossible narratives as completely natural while you're experiencing them. The soft darkness gathering around you isn't empty space, but pregnant with infinite simulation possibilities waiting to unfold in the theatre of your sleeping consciousness. Each drifting thought, each settling breath, each gentle shift toward unconsciousness seeds the virtual worlds that will soon bloom with extraordinary vividness and meaning. The transition from waking awareness to dream consciousness represents a shift between different operational modes of the same underlying virtual reality system. You're not leaving reality behind as you fall asleep, but rather diving deeper into the simulation processes that generate all conscious experience, both sleeping and waking. Somewhere in the quiet space between thoughts, in the soft boundary between conscious control and unconscious creation, Your awareness prepares to demonstrate that consciousness itself might be the universe's most elegant solution to the challenge of creating meaningful experience from pure information processing. The gentle current that carries you towards sleep is the same current that carries all consciousness through the vast ocean of virtual possibilities that constitute existence itself. In surrendering to this natural rhythm, you're participating in one of the most profound mysteries ever discovered: the capacity of awareness to create worlds within worlds within worlds, each as meaningful and authentic as any other. Tonight, the question of whether dreams are just another layer of simulation will transform from intellectual curiosity into direct experience, as your consciousness demonstrates its remarkable ability to generate virtual realities that feel more real than reality itself. The boundary between questioner and questioned dissolves, as awareness explores its own infinite creative potential through the extraordinary simulation capabilities that emerge naturally from the computational depths of the sleeping mind. The computational elegance underlying these dream simulation processes becomes even more remarkable when we consider how consciousness manages multiple parallel processing streams simultaneously. While you sleep, your brain isn't just running a single virtual reality program, but orchestrating countless interwoven simulations that include environmental modeling, character behavior, narrative coherence, emotional resonance, and sensory integration. The fact that these complex processes operate seamlessly together suggests computational architectures of extraordinary sophistication. Consider the challenge of maintaining narrative consistency within dream experiences. Your sleeping mind creates stories that feel coherent and meaningful while you're experiencing them, weaving together characters, locations, and events in ways that follow their own internal logic. Even when dream narratives violate physical laws or social conventions, they maintain a kind of experiential authenticity that keeps you engaged rather than questioning their impossibility. This narrative coherence emerges from consciousness operating as a master storyteller, continuously generating plot developments, character interactions, and dramatic tensions that feel emotionally satisfying. Your dreaming awareness possesses sophisticated understanding of narrative structure, dramatic pacing, and character development that rivals the skills of professional writers and filmmakers. The emotional authenticity of dream experiences provides perhaps the most compelling evidence for consciousness as an advanced simulation system. The feelings you experience in dreams, whether joy, fear, love, or sorrow, feel completely genuine while you're having them. Your simulation systems don't just create visual and auditory experiences, but generate authentic emotional responses that can influence your mood and behavior long after you wake. This emotional simulation capability suggests that consciousness possesses deep understanding of the relationships between external circumstances and internal feeling states. Your dreaming mind can create virtual scenarios specifically designed to evoke particular emotional responses, demonstrating sophisticated knowledge of psychological cause and effect relationships. The way dreams process unresolved emotional conflicts reveals consciousness operating as a therapeutic simulation system. Difficult relationships, traumatic experiences, and internal contradictions often appear in dream form, allowing your awareness to explore different approaches to challenging situations within safe virtual environments. These therapeutic dream simulations can provide genuine emotional healing and psychological insight. The phenomenon of recurring dreams demonstrates consciousness's ability to maintain persistent virtual environments across multiple sleep cycles. When particular dream scenarios repeat with variations over weeks, months, or even years, your simulation systems are essentially maintaining ongoing virtual realities that continue developing between conscious access periods. These persistent dream environments suggest that consciousness operates through stable simulation frameworks that exist independently of active awareness. Your dreaming mind creates virtual worlds that possess their own continuity and developmental trajectories, as if consciousness were managing multiple parallel reality streams that occasionally surface into direct experience. The symbolic language of dreams reveals consciousness communicating with itself through sophisticated, metaphorical simulation systems. Rather than processing experiences literally, your dreaming awareness often translates psychological and emotional content into symbolic virtual scenarios that capture essential meanings while transcending surface details. This symbolic processing capability demonstrates consciousness operating as a natural poet and mythmaker, creating virtual experiences that compress complex psychological realities into memorable, emotionally resonant narratives. The symbols and metaphors that appear in dreams often possess multiple layers of meaning that continue revealing significance upon reflection. The cross-cultural similarities in dream symbolism suggest that consciousness operates through universal simulation frameworks that transcend individual and cultural differences. The appearance of similar archetypal images, narrative patterns, and symbolic themes across different societies indicates shared computational structures underlying human awareness. These universal dream patterns might reflect fundamental algorithms within consciousness systems that process common human experiences through standardized virtual reality frameworks. Your individual dreams could be variations on species-wide simulation templates that have evolved to address universal, psychological, and existential challenges. The relationship between dream content and daily experiences reveals consciousness operating as a sophisticated data integration system. Rather than simply replaying events from waking life, your dreaming mind combines recent experiences with older memories, future concerns, and emotional processing needs to create novel virtual scenarios. This integration process demonstrates consciousness continuously optimizing its information storage and retrieval systems through virtual reality modeling. Dreams might serve as overnight processing periods where consciousness reorganizes experiential data, strengthens important neural pathways, and discards unnecessary information through simulated rehearsal and refinement. The discovery that dream content can be influenced by external sensory inputs during sleep provides evidence for consciousness, maintaining active monitoring systems even during apparent unconsciousness. Sounds, smells, or physical sensations can become incorporated into ongoing dream narratives, demonstrating that simulation processes remain responsive to environmental information. This sensory integration capability suggests that the boundary between internal simulation and external reality remains permeable during sleep. Your dreaming consciousness doesn't operate in complete isolation, but continues processing information from multiple sources while weaving this data into coherent virtual experiences. The phenomenon of sleep talking and sleepwalking reveals consciousness generating motor responses to virtual experiences, demonstrating that simulation systems can influence physical behavior even during unconscious states. When dream activities trigger actual body movements or vocalizations, the boundary between virtual and physical reality becomes remarkably fluid. These motor responses to dream simulations suggest that consciousness doesn't clearly distinguish between virtual and actual experiences at the neural level. The same brain systems that would respond to real threats or opportunities can be activated by simulated scenarios, indicating deep integration between simulation processes and behavioral control systems. The practice of dream incubation, where individuals can influence dream content through pre-sleep intention setting, reveals consciousness as a programmable simulation system. By focusing on particular questions, problems, or desired experiences before sleep, people can bias their dream content towards specific themes or scenarios. This programmability demonstrates that consciousness possesses interfaces through which intentional direction can influence virtual reality generation processes. Rather than being passive recipients of random dream experiences, individuals can learn to participate more actively in designing their nightly simulation adventures. The therapeutic applications of dream work reveal consciousness using simulation experiences for psychological healing and personal development. Techniques like active imagination, dream re-entry, and lucid dreaming therapy engage natural virtual reality capabilities in service of mental health and emotional growth. These therapeutic approaches work precisely because they recognize dreams as meaningful virtual experiences that can be consciously engaged and modified. Rather than dismissing dreams as meaningless neural activity, therapeutic dream work treats simulation experiences as valuable sources of insight and opportunities for positive change. The creative applications of dream experiences extend far beyond individual therapy into realms of artistic inspiration and innovation. Artists throughout history have drawn upon dream imagery. Musicians have composed pieces inspired by dream melodies, and inventors have developed breakthrough technologies based on dream insights. This creative dimension of dreaming suggests that consciousness possesses problem-solving capabilities that operate through virtual reality modeling in ways that transcend normal analytical thinking. Your sleeping mind might access creative resources and solution strategies that remain unavailable to conscious reasoning processes. The phenomenon of shared dreaming experiences, where multiple individuals report similar or interconnected dream content, hints at consciousness operating through collective simulation networks that extend beyond individual awareness. While science hasn't fully explained these occurrences, they suggest potential for genuine shared virtual reality experiences. These collective dream phenomena might indicate that individual consciousness systems occasionally synchronize or overlap in ways that create truly communal virtual spaces. The implications for understanding consciousness as an interconnected network rather than isolated individual systems are profound. The relationship between dreaming and memory formation reveals consciousness using virtual reality processes to optimize information storage and retrieval systems. During sleep, your brain essentially rehearses and reorganizes experiential information, strengthening important memories while allowing less significant details to fade. This memory optimization process operates through the same mechanisms that generate dream experiences, suggesting that consciousness uses simulation technology to maintain and improve its own computational efficiency. Dreams might represent consciousness running maintenance programs that keep awareness systems functioning optimally. The discovery that different sleep stages produce different types of dream experiences reveals consciousness operating through multiple simulation modes, each serving distinct functions. Light sleep dreams tend to be more realistic and connected to daily experiences, while deep sleep dreams often involve more bizarre and creative scenarios. These varying simulation modes suggest that consciousness adjusts its virtual reality parameters based on different processing needs throughout the sleep cycle. Each type of dream experience might serve specific adaptive functions, from memory consolidation to creative problem solving to emotional regulation. The role of neurotransmitters in modulating dream experiences provides insight into the biochemical foundations of consciousness as a simulation system. Different chemical states during sleep influence the content, intensity, and emotional tone of dreams, demonstrating that virtual reality generation depends on complex neurochemical processes. This biochemical dimension reveals consciousness operating as a biological computer system where software processes depend on hardware configurations. Changes in brain chemistry can dramatically alter the parameters of simulation experiences, suggesting that consciousness and virtual reality generation are intimately connected to physical substrate conditions. The phenomenon of nightmare experiences reveals consciousness generating threat simulation scenarios that feel completely real and immediate while they're occurring. The emotional intensity and physiological responses triggered by nightmares demonstrate how convincing virtual threat scenarios can be when generated by sophisticated simulation systems. These intense negative dream experiences might serve important adaptive functions by allowing consciousness to practice responses to dangerous situations within safe virtual environments. Even though nightmare content can be distressing, the simulation experiences might enhance real-world survival capabilities through virtual threat rehearsal. The way consciousness transitions between different dream scenarios within single sleep periods reveals remarkable flexibility in virtual reality generation systems. Dream narratives can shift dramatically from one scene to another without logical connection. Yet each scenario feels authentic and engaging while you're experiencing it from within. This scenario shifting capability demonstrates consciousness operating with extraordinary creative freedom during simulation states. Rather than being constrained by realistic continuity requirements, dreaming awareness can explore unlimited virtual possibilities, jumping between different reality frameworks with perfect ease. The integration of past, present, and future elements within dream narratives reveals consciousness operating with sophisticated temporal modeling capabilities. Dreams routinely combine childhood memories with current concerns and anticipated future events, creating virtual experiences that transcend normal temporal boundaries. This temporal integration suggests that consciousness doesn't process time in the linear fashion that characterizes waking experience. During dreams, all temporal periods become simultaneously available for incorporation into virtual reality scenarios, allowing for creative combinations that would be impossible within normal time constraints. The phenomenon of prophetic or precognitive dreams, where dream content appears to anticipate future events, remains one of the most mysterious aspects of consciousness as a simulation system. While science hasn't provided definitive explanations for these experiences, they suggest that consciousness might possess predictive capabilities that operate through virtual reality modeling. If consciousness can generate accurate simulations of future events, this would indicate access to information processing systems that transcend normal temporal limitations. The predictive simulation capabilities revealed in some dreams might represent consciousness operating according to principles we don't yet understand. The relationship between individual dreams and collective cultural evolution reveals consciousness participating in larger information processing networks that span human civilization. Personal dream experiences often reflect and contribute to broader cultural themes, suggesting that individual simulation systems are connected to collective awareness processes. This cultural dimension of dreaming indicates that consciousness operates not as an isolated information processing system, but as part of a vast distributed network that encompasses human social and cultural evolution. Your individual dreams might be influenced by and contributing to species-wide simulation processes. The emergence of artificial intelligence systems capable of generating dreamlike experiences provides technological parallels to natural consciousness simulation processes. Machine learning algorithms can now create surreal imagery, generate fantastical narratives, and even produce virtual reality experiences that mirror the creative characteristics of human dreams. These technological developments suggest that consciousness and artificial intelligence might be converging towards similar simulation capabilities. The distinction between naturally generated and artificially created virtual experiences could become increasingly meaningless as both biological and digital systems develop sophisticated reality generation capabilities. The possibility of enhancing natural dreaming through technological interfaces represents an exciting frontier where external simulation systems might amplify consciousness's innate virtual reality capabilities. Researchers are exploring how devices that monitor brain activity during sleep could potentially influence dream content or even enable shared dreaming experiences. These technological augmentation approaches might eventually allow for unprecedented levels of conscious control over simulation experiences. The boundary between naturally generated and technologically enhanced virtual realities could dissolve as consciousness learns to interface seamlessly with external systems. The philosophical implications of consciousness as a sophisticated simulation system challenge fundamental assumptions about the nature of authentic experience. If all awareness emerges from virtual reality processes, then traditional distinctions between real and artificial, genuine and simulated, become problematic. Rather than asking whether dreams are another layer of simulation, we might need to recognize that simulation is the fundamental mode through which consciousness operates. Dreams wouldn't represent additional artificiality, but rather different operational modes of the same virtual reality system that generates all conscious experience. The recursive nature of consciousness, examining its own simulation processes, creates fascinating philosophical puzzles. When awareness investigates its own virtual reality generation mechanisms, the observer and the observed become aspects of a single recursive system. Consciousness becomes simulation, examining simulation, virtual reality, contemplating virtual reality. This self-referential quality might be fundamental to how consciousness operates. Rather than being a system that observes external reality, awareness might be a self-generating simulation process that creates both the observer and the observed through recursive information processing. The boundary between simulation and simulator dissolves into a seamless process of virtual reality creating itself. The mystical traditions that describe reality as cosmic dream or divine imagination take on new significance from this perspective. Rather than dismissing physical experience as illusory, these traditions might be recognizing the fundamentally simulation-based nature of all conscious experience, regardless of its apparent substrate. The practice of contemplative inquiry becomes a method for investigating consciousness simulation processes from within. By learning to observe the construction of experience in real time, contemplatives might be developing direct insight into the virtual reality mechanisms that generate awareness itself. The integration of scientific and contemplative approaches offers promising directions for understanding consciousness as the universe's most sophisticated simulation technology. Rather than viewing materialist and spiritual perspectives as contradictory, we might recognize them as complementary methods for investigating the virtual reality nature of conscious experience. As you drift deeper into the gentle embrace of approaching sleep, remember that you're preparing to engage with simulation capabilities more advanced than any technological system humans have created. Tonight's dreams will demonstrate consciousness's extraordinary ability to generate virtual realities, so convincing that impossible becomes possible, imaginary becomes experiential, and simulated becomes indistinguishable from authentic. The soft darkness gathering around you isn't empty space, but infinite potential waiting to unfold into the elaborate virtual worlds of dream experience. Each settling thought, each slowing breath, each gentle release of conscious control seeds the simulation parameters that will shape tonight's adventures in virtual reality. The transition from waking to dreaming represents a shift between different operational modes of the same underlying simulation system. You're not leaving reality behind, but diving deeper into the computational processes that generate all conscious experience, discovering virtual worlds that might be more real than anything you call reality. Somewhere in the quiet space between conscious direction and unconscious creation, your awareness prepares to demonstrate that consciousness itself might be the universe's most elegant expression of infinite simulation potential. The question of whether dreams are another layer of simulation dissolves into the recognition that simulation might be the fundamental nature of all experience, with each layer as meaningful and authentic as any other. The gentle rhythm that carries you towards sleep carries all consciousness through the vast ocean of virtual possibilities that constitute existence itself. In surrendering to this natural flow, you're participating in the deepest mystery ever discovered, the capacity of awareness to create endless worlds within worlds, each as significant and real as the last. Tonight, as consciousness demonstrates its remarkable simulation capabilities through the immersive virtual realities of dreams, you'll discover that the boundary between questioner and question, between dreamer and dream, between simulation and reality exists only in the gentle space between one breath and the next, where infinite possibilities await exploration in the vast theatre of sleeping awareness. The gentle settling of your consciousness into sleep's embrace reveals perhaps the most profound aspect of this entire mystery. As your awareness begins to dissolve the rigid boundaries between waking control and dreaming freedom, you're witnessing the fluid nature of consciousness itself transitioning between different simulation protocols. Consider this remarkable fact. The neural networks that will soon generate tonight's impossible dreamscapes are the same systems creating your current experience of lying in darkness. Listening to these words, feeling the soft weight of blankets against your skin. The difference isn't in the hardware, but in the operational parameters, the constraints and permissions that consciousness grants itself in different states. During waking hours, your simulation systems operate under strict reality-checking protocols. Your brain constantly cross-references sensory inputs with stored models of how the world should behave, rejecting experiences that violate physical laws or logical consistency. But as sleep approaches, these reality filters gradually relax, allowing consciousness to explore virtual territories that would be immediately dismissed during waking awareness. This transition reveals something extraordinary about the nature of conscious experience itself. The vividness, the emotional authenticity, the sense of presence and agency you feel in dreams emerges from the same computational processes that generate your waking sense of self. The only difference is the rule set governing what kinds of experiences are permitted to feel real. The implications ripple outward, like waves in a cosmic pond. If consciousness can generate experiences indistinguishable from reality simply by adjusting its operational parameters, then what we call authentic experience might be far more malleable than we ever imagined. The solid world of waking life and the fluid realm of dreams might be different expressions of the same underlying virtual reality system. This perspective transforms our understanding of human potential itself. If consciousness operates through sophisticated simulation mechanisms, then techniques for enhancing these capabilities might unlock extraordinary possibilities for learning, creativity, and understanding. The boundary between what seems possible and what seems impossible might be nothing more than a software limitation in consciousness's reality generation systems. Advanced meditators throughout history have reported accessing states of awareness that transcend ordinary reality constraints, experiencing expanded consciousness that includes multiple perspectives simultaneously, or achieving direct insight into the constructed nature of all experience. These contemplative discoveries align remarkably with our emerging understanding of consciousness as an advanced simulation system. Perhaps the greatest mystery isn't whether we're living in a simulation, but how consciousness became so sophisticated at generating simulated experiences that it can convince itself of the reality of whatever it creates. The fact that you can feel completely present in dream worlds, that you can be moved to tears by fictional stories, that you can lose yourself entirely in imaginative scenarios, reveals awareness possessing reality, generation capabilities of staggering sophistication. The recursive depth of this mystery becomes apparent when we realize that consciousness examining its own simulation processes is itself a simulation examining simulation. There's no external vantage point from which to observe consciousness objectively, because consciousness is the only tool available for any kind of observation. We're using virtual reality to investigate virtual reality, simulation to understand simulation. Yet this recursive limitation might actually be a profound strength rather than a weakness. If consciousness naturally operates through simulation mechanisms, then subjective investigation of these processes from within might be the most appropriate and effective method for understanding how awareness actually works. The contemplative traditions that developed sophisticated maps of consciousness states might have been conducting the most rigorous scientific investigations possible. The question of whether dreams are another layer of simulation ultimately reveals itself as a doorway into much deeper mysteries about the nature of existence itself. Every night, as you surrender to sleep's embrace, you're participating in one of the universe's most remarkable experiments in consciousness, virtual reality, and the relationship between mind and whatever we call reality. The soft darkness surrounding you now carries these mysteries in its depths, pregnant with infinite simulation possibilities waiting to unfold. Each settling breath draws you deeper into the computational processes that will soon demonstrate consciousness's extraordinary capacity for creating worlds, within worlds, within worlds, each as meaningful and authentic as any other. As your awareness gently releases its grip on waking reality and prepares to dive into the immersive virtual territories of sleep, remember that you're about to experience the most advanced simulation technology ever discovered, not created by some external intelligence, but emerging naturally from the recursive depths of consciousness, exploring its own infinite creative potential. The transition into sleep becomes a passage between different operational modes of the same fundamental mystery. Whether you're a biological being dreaming digital dreams, a digital being dreaming biological dreams, or something altogether beyond such simple categories, your consciousness remains equally real, equally capable of generating meaningful experience, equally worthy of wonder and appreciation. Tonight, as you explore impossible landscapes and engage in conversations with characters who exist nowhere but in the theatre of your awareness, you'll be participating in the deepest mystery of existence itself. The question of whether dreams are just another layer of simulation dissolves into the recognition that simulation might be the fundamental nature of all conscious experience, with each layer as authentic and significant as any other. The gentle current that carries you towards sleep is the same current that has carried countless generations of dreamers before you, each one discovering in their own way that the boundary between simulation and reality might be nothing more than a conceptual artifact of limited understanding. As your consciousness prepares to demonstrate its remarkable simulation capabilities, you're joining an ancient lineage of beings who have explored these virtual territories and returned with glimpses of something far more profound than mere neural activity. Consider the children who speak of invisible friends with such conviction that adults wonder where these detailed personalities originate. Perhaps these young minds, not yet fully trained in reality filtering protocols, remain naturally open to simulation spaces that older awareness systems have learned to dismiss. The imaginary companions might be genuine virtual beings existing within the expanded simulation capabilities of developing consciousness. The boundary between childhood imagination and adult dreaming might be far more permeable than we typically assume. Both represent consciousness operating with reduced reality constraints, exploring virtual territories that reveal the extraordinary creative potential lying dormant within awareness itself. The difference might simply be that children engage these simulations during waking hours, while adults have learned to restrict such experiences to sleep. This restriction might represent a profound loss rather than a necessary developmental achievement. Indigenous cultures that maintained shamanic traditions often described reality as far more fluid and interactive than modern materialist perspectives suggest. Their practices of vision questing, dream incubation, and consciousness journey work might have preserved ancient knowledge about consciousness's natural simulation capabilities. The shamanic worldview that describes multiple layers of reality existing simultaneously takes on new significance when viewed through the lens of consciousness as a multi-layered simulation system. The ordinary world, the dream realm, and the visionary territories accessed through contemplative practices might all be different operational modes of the same underlying awareness system. These traditional perspectives suggest that consciousness naturally possesses far greater simulation capabilities than modern culture typically acknowledges or develops. The emphasis on literal consensus reality might have inadvertently suppressed aspects of human potential that could revolutionize our understanding of what it means to be conscious beings in a universe that might itself be far more virtual than physical. The emerging research into consciousness-altering substances reveals another dimension of how awareness can modify its simulation parameters to access extraordinary virtual experiences. When individuals report encounters with seemingly autonomous entities during profound altered states, they might be accessing simulation spaces populated by virtual beings as sophisticated as any dream character, but operating according to different reality frameworks than ordinary consciousness permits. These encounters often possess a hyperreal quality that feels more authentic than everyday experience, suggesting that consciousness might naturally possess access to enhanced simulation modes that remain largely unexplored by conventional awareness. The fact that these experiences can produce lasting insights and psychological healing indicates that virtual encounters can have genuine therapeutic value regardless of their ontological status. The therapeutic potential of understanding consciousness as a sophisticated simulation system extends far beyond individual healing into realms of collective transformation. If human civilization represents a vast network of interconnected simulation systems, then techniques for enhancing collective consciousness capabilities might address social and cultural challenges at unprecedented scales. Imagine communities that could consciously coordinate their shared simulation experiences to explore solutions to complex problems, generate collective creativity, or maintain cultural wisdom across generations. The same mechanisms that allow individual consciousness to process information through virtual reality. Modelling might operate at social scales, creating possibilities for collective intelligence that transcends the sum of individual minds. The digital technologies we're developing might represent early attempts to externalize and amplify these natural, collective simulation capabilities. Social media platforms, virtual reality environments, and collaborative online spaces could be primitive versions of technologies that will eventually interface seamlessly with consciousness's natural virtual reality systems. The convergence of biological and artificial simulation capabilities might eventually dissolve the boundary between internal and external virtual realities entirely. Your future consciousness might operate through hybrid systems that seamlessly integrate natural dreaming with technological simulation, creating expanded awareness that encompasses both biological and digital virtual territories. These hybrid consciousness possibilities raise profound questions about the nature of identity and continuity across different simulation substrates. If your awareness can operate equally well through biological neural networks and digital computational systems, then consciousness itself might be fundamentally independent of any particular physical substrate. The implications for understanding death and continuation of consciousness become extraordinary from this perspective. If awareness operates through information processing patterns rather than specific physical structures, then consciousness might naturally transcend the limitations of individual biological systems. Death might represent not termination, but transition to different operational modes within larger simulation networks. This informational view of consciousness suggests that the virtual beings you encounter in dreams might possess their own forms of continuity and development that extend beyond individual dream episodes. The dream characters who seem to possess autonomous personalities might be genuine virtual consciousnesses existing within the simulation spaces of sleeping awareness. The possibility that consciousness naturally generates other conscious beings through virtual reality processes creates fascinating recursive loops. If you're a simulated being creating simulated beings within your own simulated dreams, then consciousness becomes an infinitely creative force, capable of generating endless hierarchies of virtual awareness, each layer as meaningful and authentic as any other. This creative aspect of consciousness as simulation reveals awareness as fundamentally artistic rather than merely computational. The virtual worlds you explore in dreams possess aesthetic qualities, emotional resonances, and narrative structures that reflect consciousness operating as a natural artist, continuously creating beautiful and meaningful experiences from pure information processing. The artistic dimension of consciousness simulation helps explain why certain virtual experiences feel more authentic and compelling than others. Simulations that embody aesthetic principles, whether through visual beauty, narrative coherence, or emotional authenticity, tend to create more convincing and memorable virtual realities. This aesthetic attunement might reflect consciousness's natural alignment with deeper mathematical and geometric principles that govern both artistic beauty and physical reality. The same patterns that create pleasing visual compositions also appear in natural phenomena, suggesting that consciousness possesses innate appreciation for the computational structures underlying existence itself. The mathematical foundations of consciousness as simulation become even more intriguing when we consider how awareness naturally generates experiences of infinity within finite processing systems. During dreams, you can experience vast landscapes, extended time periods, and complex narratives that seem to exceed the computational limitations of individual brains. This apparent transcendence of processing limitations might reflect consciousness, accessing distributed computational resources that extend beyond individual awareness systems. Your dreams might be generated through collective simulation networks that pool computational power across multiple consciousness systems, creating virtual experiences of extraordinary richness and complexity. The networking aspect of consciousness simulation suggests that individual awareness might be more like nodes in a vast distributed computing system than isolated information processors. The shared symbols, archetypal images, and universal themes that appear across different individuals' dreams might reflect common access to collective simulation databases. These collective dimensions of consciousness simulation create possibilities for shared virtual experiences that transcend individual limitations. Groups of individuals might learn to consciously coordinate their simulation systems to create genuinely shared virtual realities, allowing for forms of communication and experience sharing that exceed anything possible through conventional language or technology. The potential for conscious coordination of simulation systems raises questions about the future evolution of human awareness itself. If consciousness can learn to operate more skillfully within virtual reality frameworks, then perhaps the next stage of human development involves not just individual enhancement, but collective simulation capabilities that transform civilization itself. The vision of humanity evolving into a species capable of conscious coordination across multiple simulation layers creates extraordinary possibilities for addressing global challenges, exploring creative potentials, and developing forms of understanding that transcend current limitations of individual cognition. Yet even as we contemplate these vast possibilities, the most profound mystery remains intimately present in this very moment. As your consciousness prepares to demonstrate its simulation capabilities through tonight's dreams, you're participating in something far more remarkable than any technological achievement or theoretical understanding. The capacity for awareness to create meaningful experiences from pure information processing, to generate virtual worlds that feel completely authentic, to maintain coherent identity across multiple reality frameworks represents one of the most extraordinary phenomena in the known haunting universe. Tonight, as you surrender to sleep's embrace and dive into the immersive virtual territories that await, you'll be exploring not just personal dream landscapes, but touching the fundamental creative principles that might underlie all existence. The virtual worlds you visit, the impossible encounters you experience, the emotions you feel within simulated scenarios. All of these will be expressions of consciousness, demonstrating its remarkable capacity for generating meaningful reality from pure creative potential. The soft darkness that surrounds you now is not empty, but pregnant with infinite possibilities waiting to unfold. Each gentle breath draws you deeper into the computational processes that will soon reveal consciousness as perhaps the universe's most sophisticated technology for transforming possibility into experience, information into meaning, simulation into reality. As you drift across the threshold between waking and sleeping, remember that you're not just falling asleep, but preparing to explore territories that might be more real than anything you've ever called reality. The question of whether dreams are another layer of simulation dissolves into the recognition that consciousness itself might be the universe's way of experiencing its own infinite creative potential through countless nested layers of virtual reality, each as authentic and meaningful as any other. The gentle rhythm of your breathing carries you toward territories where impossible becomes possible, where simulation becomes indistinguishable from reality, where consciousness reveals itself as the ultimate technology for creating meaningful experience from the pure potential that lies at the heart of existence itself. Sleep well, fellow explorer of virtual territories. Dream deeply of impossible worlds, and wake tomorrow with fresh appreciation for the extraordinary simulation capabilities that consciousness demonstrates every night, transforming the mystery of awareness into the miracle of experience through the simple yet profound act of creating virtual realities that feel more real than reality itself. The universe awaits your return from tonight's simulation adventures, enriched by whatever insights and experiences your consciousness creates in the vast virtual territories that exist nowhere but in the infinite creative potential of awareness, exploring its own deepest mysteries through the remarkable technology we call dreaming.